o. To aka bes, o no Kenya. O bule te Kenya o tinwa.
And I think it might be the biggest revolution in government since the original revolution. But at the end of the day, America is going to be in much better shape. America will be solvent. The critical programs that people depend upon will work, and it's going to be a fantastic future. But are we going to get a lot of complaints along the way? Absolutely. One of the things I learned at PayPal was who complains the loudest and with the most amount of fake righteous indignation? The fraudsters. It's a tell. There's some of these NGOs that are crazy, like the $2 billion to Stacey Abrams' NGO that basically didn't exist, and suddenly gets $2 billion awarded from the federal government. Just why? And there are many such cases like that.
The president said today that we have to have Greenland. By being here today, are you also conveying that message that the U.S. is very serious in its desire to acquire Greenland?
Well, the president said we have to have Greenland, and I think that we do have to be more serious about the security of Greenland. We can't just ignore this place. We can't just ignore the president's desires, but most importantly, we can't ignore what I said earlier, which is the Russian and Chinese encroachment in Greenland. We have to do more. And what the president said in his State of the Union address, and he was very clear about this, is we respect the self-determination of the people of Greenland, but my argument again to them is I think that you'd be a lot better coming under the United States security umbrella than you have been under Denmark's security umbrella. Because what Denmark's security umbrella has meant is effectively they've passed it all off to brave Americans and hope that we would pick up the tab. We're simply saying to the people of Greenland, when the president says we've got to have Greenland, he's saying this island is not safe. A lot of people are interested in it. A lot of people are making a play. We know that America cares about the security of this island for the sake of the people of Greenland, but also for the sake of the national security interests of the United States of America. So our message is very simple. Yes, the people of Greenland are going to have self-determination. We hope that they choose to partner with the United States because we're the only nation on earth that will respect their sovereignty and respect their security, because their security is very much our security, as these brave Americans showed.
The president has previously...
My companies are suffering because I'm in the government. You just pointed that out a moment ago.
Right.
My companies are suffering because I'm in the government. You just pointed that out a moment ago.
Right.
Do you think it helps sales if dealerships are being firebombed? Of course not. And Tesla customers are being intimidated all over the country and all over Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Does that help Tesla? I mean, you had Tim Waltz, who's a huge jerk, running around on stage with a Tesla stock price where the stock price had gone in half, and he was overjoyed. What an evil thing to do! What a creep! What a jerk! Like who derives joy from that? And it was pointed out to him that actually, Minnesota State Pension Fund is a major investor in Tesla. But he didn't care. He was so overjoyed by Tesla stock going in half. So does that sound like a good person to you? I don't think so.
يلا انا معك نص دقيقة وبنزل صاروخ. طول ليش طول؟ لا تقلقش عشان في اثنين غيره.
We need Greenland, very importantly, for international security. We have to have Greenland. It's not a question of, do you think we can do without it? We can't.
Birth rates are falling all over the world, including in this country, and some governments are starting to panic over it and take action. So let's talk about South Korea. 42 districts there in South Korea are offering major incentives at matchmaking events 42 of them, in fact, all over the country. And look at these bonuses they're giving. $14,000 to couples who get married. $340 just to go on dates, just to like find out if you like somebody. Then housing subsidies, cash for pregnancy-related expenses, even money for international travel.
Is the pregnancy rate dropping that much?
It's like 1/3 the level just needed to maintain the population level right now. But so the government matchmaking events, you have to sit down in front of somebody and look in their eyes for 10 seconds.
Okay, 10 seconds. Then what?
Then you have to have a 5-minute conversation, and then you all play bingo and have dinner.
Literally, you play bingo?
In 3 years, 42. Here's the results.
They're very daring. Let's play bingo.
And remember, if you get married, $14K upfront cash, and they're paying for your dates. In 3 years, 42 districts, 4,000 singles participated. They got 24 marriages.
Just before 6 o'clock this morning, SWAT teams surrounded the home of 24-year-old Henry Villatoro Santos, believed to be one of the top 3 leaders of MS-13 on the East Coast. The multi-agency operation led by the FBI blocked off Chippendale Circle. According to court documents, agents breached the front and back doors of the home, released a stun grenade before pulling the suspect out of the home. Authorities say they've had their eyes on his Dale City home where Santos lives with his mom for the entire month. Some of these agents are members of a special task force created by President Donald Trump. Their job is to locate and arrest illegal immigrants responsible for violent crimes in the country.
We've taken a high-profile criminal off the streets.
Santos was taken into custody on an outstanding immigrant.
And Salakia, I don't know what's going on with all this effeminate, weird-ass energy that's on this video, man. But I ain't, you know what I'm saying, brothers ain't with that shit, man. So, yeah.
Warrant. During the search of the home, officials say they found several
Just trying to show the news.
Firearms, ammunition, and 2 suppressors.
I am very ecstatically happy with the performance of today's action, and that is another step in the goal of us in public safety.
Like another Pegasus.
Already seeing the impact of President Trump's executive order on gender identity when it comes to Americans' passports. A new directive from Secretary of State Marco Rubio instructs staff to freeze all passport applications with the gender-marked X for non-binary, as well as all requests with a gender change. The directive says, quote, "The policy of the United States is that an individual's sex is not changeable." The Pew Research Center estimates that more than 4 million Americans identify as transgender or non-binary.
Has now presented a new idea that he's trying to convince.
This is actually what them fucking heathens get. All them fucking heathens up there trying to... That's what happens. It's almost time, y'all.
Ukraine to do, and that is to hold an election, but it would be done under the guidance of the UN so that a new president can be in power. You see, Vladimir Putin really doesn't want to make a deal with Zelensky, and so yesterday Putin suggested having a transitional administration overseen by the UN and several countries, and that way that could be done to form elections inside of Ukraine. And while I could tell you that Ukrainian parliament would just say no to this, the US already spoke out about it, saying, no, that's not happening. The White House National Security Council spokesperson dismissed the proposal, saying that Ukrainians' governance is determined by its own constitution. This is probably the first time we're seeing the White House put a statement.
Oh, yeah. This is for educational purposes only. Educational purposes only. Alright. Fair use.
out in which they're saying, yes, Zelensky is the legitimate president. Parliament would probably wait several months before saying that it's free enough or that it is safe enough to have elections. And even then, it could be 90 days from then in which an election could take place. And I'll be honest with you, we are nowhere near any kind of end of this war. Putin has now presented a new idea that he's trying to convince you.
It's kind of old right here.
Chris, did you have something to say?
Yes, Mr. President. I want to say energy is the infrastructure that makes our country run and drives our national security. The Biden administration grew my department, the Department of Energy, by 20%, and expenditure much more than that, all in an effort to reduce the production of energy in the United States and to make energy more expensive. We are stewards of the American taxpayer dollars, right? That's the job of everyone around this table, led by you. We want to reverse that trajectory and care about every dollar an American taxpayer gives us, and are we using it for the benefit of Americans? Let me tell you one thing, huge growth in expenditures, huge growth in employee count. Puerto Rico, an American territory, had its electricity grid destroyed. They had billions of dollars in the Department of Energy to help Puerto Rico, yet they didn't spend that money because that money would have meant more energy, more jobs, more prosperity in Puerto Rico. They wanted to have them as a poster child of wind and solar. This island should run on wind and solar. That just doesn't work. But they cared about politics more than the American people, and they didn't treat the dollars like they were their dollars. This table, the team you have assembled, we're treating the American dollars like they're our dollars.
Okay, thank you. You're doing a great job on energy, by the way. We have things happening with energy that will.
We have some news right now. Florida is now debating possibly lifting child labor laws in an effort to fill jobs that were previously filled by undocumented immigrants. This is kind of one of those F around and find out moments. The Florida legislature is now actively debating a bill that would loosen child labor laws in the state and would allow children as young as 14 years old to work overnight shifts. Right now, teenagers in Florida are not able to work past 11 p.m. or before 6:30 a.m. But this new bill would lift those restrictions even on school days and allow these children to work overnight shifts. And the reason for this is because Florida now has a job.
Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. Earlier today, President Trump held what he called an extremely productive call with new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, adding that the two agree on many things. Meanwhile, despite the less phony hysteria and endless claims that Trump will give tax breaks to the wealthy, Axios is reporting just the opposite. According to their sources, the president is considering allowing taxes on the wealthy to increase to cover tax breaks on tips. And speaking from the White House earlier today, President Trump floated the idea of letting people deduct interest payments for cars made in America. Watch this.
If you buy a car in the United States that's made in the United States, if it's manufactured here, when you borrow money, if you borrow money, you have interest payments, we're going to let you deduct the interest payment for income tax reasons. And I think that's going to more than pay for itself.
According to auto workers who backed Trump during the campaign, he is delivering on his promise to bring manufacturing dominance back to the United States. And while the left continues to melt down over Trump's proposed tariffs, they don't realize this is how he negotiates. Here's what he said aboard Air Force One earlier today.
On the car tariffs and just the reciprocal tariffs, a lot of countries are making gestures, including Britain, which has talked about reducing deals. Are you in a mode, or
Well, it's possible if we could get something for the deal, but we've been taken advantage of for 40 years, maybe more, and it's just not going to happen anymore. But yeah, I'm certainly open to that.
Welcome back to this special edition of Hannity. Earlier today, President Trump held what he called an extremely productive call with new Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney.
The original plan was for the Second Lady, Usha Vance, to come here to Greenland's capital, Nuuk, on a private visit, including watching a dog sledding race. But that was scrapped after Greenland's outgoing Prime Minister called it, quote, highly aggressive and provocative.
Greenland's always been a quiet place.
If y'all ever notice something, it's always like Esau always getting into some bullshit. Like always trying to conquer some shit, always trying to pollute some stuff, always trying to always trying to just be wicked.
But has now been swept up in the noise.
The original plan was for the second lady, Usha Vance, to come here to Greenland's capital, Nuuk, on a private visit, including watching a dog sledding race. But that was scrapped after Greenland's outgoing Prime Minister called it, quote, highly aggressive and provocative.
Greenland's always been a quiet place, but has now been swept up in the noise of US politics and President Trump's territorial ambitions.
How long have your Inuit ancestors lived on this land?
Thousands of years.
Kuno Fenker told us he's proud to be Inuit, the indigenous people of this land. He's also a lawmaker in Greenland's parliament.
Who should decide the future of Greenland?
The Greenlandic people.
But as the US and Russia vie for military dominance in the Arctic, President Trump says the US needs to take control of Greenland for security reasons, and he's refused to rule out using economic or military force.
One way or the other, we're going to get it.
For now, Greenland's a semi-autonomous part of Denmark, one of America's NATO allies. And 85% of people here say they do not want to be part of the United States, according to a recent poll.
But they all Edomites.
Many Greenlanders we've spoken to are suspicious of President Trump.
I'm very lucky to be born here.
A rare exception to that is Jorgen Boesen, a bricklayer.
I ordered it on the internet.
Got it online.
Boesen told us he was Donald Trump Jr.'s guide when he made a controversial trip to Greenland in January.
What was the point of his visit?
I think it's a statement to China and Russia and say, stay away.
Well, it was a political statement.
I think so.
The Vice President will meet with US service members later today at the Badufik military base, which is about 1,000 miles north of here. But that base is critical to America's defense, because if Russia ever targeted the US with ballistic missiles, the shortest route would be across the Arctic. The original...
Then they had the dude at the end, which looked like he was something different. But probably like still like what I said.
Shortest route would be across the Arctic.
So with that, all praise goes to
the original plan was for the...
Bashim Kagwadash. Till next time, Shalom.